Okay, so here's the problem. You've been banging around lost in 16-bar loop hell for months, if not years. You know you're talented and you have these beautiful bursts of creativity that makes you feel like something great is on the horizon, but you always fall into the same traps. Whilst there isn't one magic pill or technique you can use to get yourself over these hurdles, there are a bunch of strategies you can develop to help pull you out of the darkness into the light. The single purpose of me making this entire video is to arm you with a whole bunch of these strategies to turn your 16-bar loops like this into full arrangements more like this. Okay, so the first and most important point is about perseverance, and this is something I really experienced firsthand as I spent years experiencing writer's block and stuck in this 16-bar loop, and I never knew how to finish my tracks. I would get so frustrated with them, I wouldn't know what to add, I wouldn't know where to go, and I just found it mind-blowing. And I think what I have now, which I didn't have then, is actually I have this grind where I'm able to push through the really tough stages of a production. And we all have this kind of, even when you're first starting producing, the first maybe hour or two of a production session, you can be really creative on a new track and you have all these ideas and you get inspired by all these elements. But then taking that initial idea and turning that into a finished track is really tricky. And often it's just about throwing paint at the wall and really grinding through. Now, something that really revolutionized my thinking of this is when I did my Photek breakdown. And for anyone who doesn't know about Photek, he was this pioneering D&B artist who was around in the 90s, but he would spend 5 weeks if not more on a single track, and that would probably equate to hundreds of hours, maybe 200 or 300 hours on a tune. And so you have to be aware that to make great art or to make great music, sometimes it takes a huge amount of effort, and you have to be prepared to put that in and not throw your songs away after you spent 5 hours or 10 hours, and just see what happens when you start pushing through the 24-hour mark up to the 50-hour mark on a song and really putting everything you have into making it. Another really essential thing is to start using referencing, and for me myself, loads of people have suggested this to me in YouTube videos and in real life over the years, and I think I was almost too arrogant or just thought I could do things my own way, and I never wanted to be copying other producers, and I thought I'll just figure this out myself. But actually, these days I look at referencing as much more of a tool I can use to my advantage, and there's a few ways I use referencing I want to take you through now. One really common way to use referencing is to reference the arrangement of a track, and so I've brought in this song I really like by Shogun here, and I'm just looking about what he's doing at these different times in the track, and so I've made markers here showing me where he's brought the drums in, where he's brought the bass in, where the breakdowns are, if there's different stuff happening in the kind of the second half of the track and how it's evolving. And then you can see in my track, this is where I brought my bass in, exactly what he's done, brought my drums in the same place. And so you can build your own song with your own sounds and its own identity, but then just copy the reference of another track. Can really help you just see how these other artists are building these full songs rather than being stuck in those 16-bar loops. Another great way to use referencing is to emulate the sound palette or the theme or the vibe that an artist has gone for. And in this track by Photek called Niten Ichiryu, he's got this Japanese sword style with lots of sword slices and kung fu hits and taiko drums and things like that. So I've built a very similar sound palette for my track. There is nothing more creatively destructive than leaving a production session to go and search through thousands of samples to try and find the missing ingredients to fill in the space in your track. It's just not the go, and it's so counterproductive. I'm a huge believer in making a playlist of sounds and collecting sounds before you go and start making your tracks and splitting up these processes. And for this, I use Audio Finder, which I absolutely love. And it's basically like iTunes with a few extra options. But all I've really done here, if we look at this selection, I've gone into TrackLib and found a whole bunch of sounds. I've done 2 days by the looks of it, 2 different days of sampling out of TrackLib. And then I've got a whole bunch of stuff from YouTube and a whole bunch of random sci-fi and Foley samples. And the thing about this is they're all within this theme that I'm creating, which is a little bit dark and kind of eerie with these metallic boat sounds. And so you're building this palette all with these similar sounds, and what it means is whenever you get stuck with a track and you don't know where to go, you can just jump into this playlist and instantly be inspired. And so there's never that feeling of not knowing what to add because you have all these ingredients ready to go. So if I take you through a few things now, I've got a karate. I think I made that custom kung fu effect.